Hello crafty friends, this is Tina here for Miss Ink Stamps, and in today's video we are going to be creating a Walking in a Winter Wonderland card featuring the adorable Miss Ink Stamps, the Oh Dear set. And in this set, look at how cute, there are so many cute images, and look at those trees. I just can't wait to get my Copics and color up those trees. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and stamp and emboss all the images. I'm pulling all of the images out. I want to color all of them, and I love those little teeny tiny birds, and I'm just arranging them on my paper so that I can get as many images as possible. I'm going to use some VersaFine black onyx ink, and that's why I'm going to prep the paper with my anti-static powder tool. Once I get the images inked, I'm going to go ahead and stamp them on my paper. I'm going to grab my clear embossing powder and get those images nice and covered. Once I have the embossing powder on there, I'll heat up my heat tool nice and hot, and then I'll melt that powder down. Once that is done, the images have this nice shiny outline, which I really like, and it gives my projects a little bit more dimension. I'm going to do some very simple Copic coloring for the antlers. I'm using the W00, the W0. I will go back in later and use the W1 to give it a little bit more shadow. For the deer, I'm using my E40s. The darkest is the E43, blending out with the E42, the E41, and then the lightest color is the E40. I really like the E40s when I do little critters. I think it's a great brown tone for the animals. So I'm just leaving some of the areas a little bit white so that way there's a little bit of contrast for the little deer. This is very simple coloring. The images are pretty small, and you really could get away with just using 2 brown colors, 2 or 3. I think my combinations are usually 3 to 4. I'm going to grab some scissors and go ahead and fussy cut all of the images once I have them all colored. And next will be to color those trees. So I did start with my Copics. I used the G29 for the darkest color, and then I blended out with the G46. Then the lightest color is the G24, and I went ahead and filled in all of the white space. And then going in with the second coat, I go dark to light again with the G29, and I'm doing flicking motions, and it really looks like they're pine needles or branches when you give it that texture instead of just coloring it straight through. I decided to do an ink blended background, which seems to be my favorite thing, my favorite go-to these days. I'm using some blues, the faded jeans, the salty ocean, the peacock feathers, salvage patina, and the tumbled glass. These are the distress oxide inks, and I know that the ink blending might not be for everyone. For me particularly, I really love ink blending, and the oxides do make it so easy. I do a double coat when I ink blend, and right now I'm just doing dark to light. I'm going to leave the bottom of the panel white because I am going to be making a snowbank for my deer and my winter trees. So once I have that first coat on, I'm just going to go right through again with the second coat, blending each pair of colors as I go. I love the way that this looks, and if ink blending is not your thing, you can always use pattern paper. That also can be a great way to create a background. Since I'm going to be stamping and embossing a sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and dry that panel with my heat tool and then go over it with my embossing, my anti-static powder tool. I went ahead and cut out the rectangle using a stitched die. I wanted to stamp the snowflakes. That was what I had initially had in mind, was stamping and embossing the sentiment and the snowflakes. I decided not to do it after all, and I just went ahead with the sentiment. I'm going to use some white embossing powder to make that stand out in the background. And I'm just going to go ahead and emboss it just like I did the images with my heat tool, getting that nice and melted. I love the way that that looks, the white against the blue. I did take some glittered cardstock and I cut out a snowbank. And now it's time to add some snow. So I'm going to go ahead and get my panel, stick it in my splatter box. I'm also going to splatter some snow on those trees. For the snow, I'm using some white acrylic paint, and I'm just dabbing it on my block, and I'm just going to grab a wet paintbrush and just like that, splatter it on there, and it's going to add some snow. And it also adds a little texture as well. So I'm getting some nice snowfall on those trees that I colored up. And now I have all of the pieces to create my card. I have my A2 size card base, my ink panel, and all of the images that I colored, including that adorable little red bird. I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere everything on. So I'm just going to get my layers put on before I add it to my card base. There is the snowbank. I'm going to add some glue behind the trees. And then once I figure out where the deer are going to go, I'm going to pop those up. That little spot right between the trees is perfect for that cardinal to sit on. And now I'm going to add the layer to my card base. I like that there's a little bit of a white trim going around the edges, but not too thick of an edge. For the deer, I'm using some double-sided adhesive foam tape, and I'm just going to cut little teeny tiny strips so that I can pop up each one of the little legs. Once I get that all done, all I got to do is peel the backing, which can be a little tedious, especially with all those little pieces, but it does help to have this deer nice and secure, especially on that glittered cardstock. So now that I figured out where I'm going to put these two walking in the winter wonderland, I'm going to add a few sparkly gems around the sentiment. And the liquid glue really does a great job of adhering those down, and I haven't had any problems with them coming apart when I use the liquid glue like that. And I feel like it keeps it more secure than when you use the ones that have the stickers on the backs. And that completes my card. So you have the couple deer there walking in the winter wonderland. I went ahead and created a second card with the other images that I colored, and I think that it turned out so cute. So now I have a fun little winter set for Christmas so that I can send these out to my friends and family. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel, everyone. I hope you liked my cards. Please make sure and stop by the shop. The links are in the description box below. I hope you have a fantastic day. Again, thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.